And the Defence Minister of South Africa, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, says she's been receiving complaints from female members of the Sandf over allegations of sexual misconduct and exploitation. Mapisa-Nqakula says she hopes that a report into sexual misconduct and exploitation within the South African National Defence Force will finally bring an end to sexual abuse in the force. The Ministerial Task Team, which looked into the reporting, management and finalisation of sexual harassment and sexual abuse cases in the force, has finally handed over the report to the Minister after its appointment in the late 2019. The Defence Minister joins us now. Very good evening to you, Minister. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Good morning, Tsepiso, and good morning to the listeners.
Okay. So, Minister,
Tsepiso,
you have said you have personally received numerous complaints of sexual abuse and exploitation. Now, within the period which the task team was formed, up until now, have there been any new cases reported? I just want to get a sense of just how bad is the sexual abuse and exploitation within the force.
You know, Tsepiso, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Indeed, yesterday I received this report from the Ministerial Task Team, and we launched the report, and the report is online. It has been made public so that everybody can have access to what has been identified as the challenges within the South African National Defence Force. One of the issues identified by the MTT is that whereas the Department of Defence has had very basic policies, structures, and processes in place to deal with these issues, however, sexual exploitation continues and abuse continues. But not only that, that there is underreporting of these cases to the structures which we have within the South African National Defence Force. The levels of trust are very low. Women are reluctant to come forward because women are not sure what reception they will receive when they report such cases. Now, the issue there is it's important that the leadership of the South African National Defence Force in the first instance takes responsibility to address these issues head on.
Okay, Minister, let me jump in there and
high levels of trust. Yes, sorry,
let me jump in and ask you that question. You say responsibility needs to be taken by the leadership. You are, at this point, the highest political leader in the Defence Department. You are somebody who's been in the trenches, and according to the findings of the report, it says that sexual misconduct and exploitation is so rife, and you know, because there's almost a level of acceptance. When you came into this role, what was one of the first things that you did knowing about this? What responsibility did you take?
Yes, Tsepiso, you take responsibility by way of saying we have policies, we have structures, we have processes. Until such time a matter is drawn to your attention and you follow up on that matter and see how that case is handled, you will not know that there are shortcomings and limitations in the manner in which people deal with those issues. You see, for instance, if I may use the examples I have, for a long time, when I interact with the Department of Peacekeeping, for instance, in New York, they will always tell you that there are several cases of sexual exploitation and abuse which are coming from the mission areas where our soldiers are deployed. And when you look, you will see that indeed there have been national investigating officers which have been dispatched to the mission areas. You'll see that there are military courts which allow for the civilians to come forward and testify. However, what has been lacking on our side, which we are now dealing with, which the MTT had to seriously deal with, try to investigate. The issue for South Africans is the penalties which are imposed on these soldiers who are perpetrators of gender violence by way of sexually exploiting and abusing women.
So let's take
If you
one
find
particular area, Minister,
Yes.
the Democratic Republic
Yes.
of Congo. You yourself know that there has been so many allegations of sexual abuse and misconduct leveled at members of the SANDF, not only within the camps, meaning the women who serve with those members who are accused of the sexual abuse and exploitation, but the women in the communities that they serve. And it has often been lamented, even at UN level, that not much is being done about that.
No, it's not. Nothing has been done about it. What our structures are quick to do is to act. However, the sentences or the penalties which are imposed against perpetrators are such that they don't serve as a deterrent. For instance, if a person violates a woman, whether a civilian or a woman, a South African woman, that person will receive a fine, let's say, of $100. So it is not so much not acting, more than the penalties which are imposed, which are inadequate, which are not realigned with what you find, for instance, in our civilian courts. Hence, the proposal that, amongst other things which we need to do, is to have a sexual misconduct unit, but also have within the military police a structure which will investigate these sexual cases. And when necessary, of course, we are going to be signing an MOU with an NPA, so that on those matters which must be referred to the NPA, they are referred to the NPA, because the NPA does have a sexual offences court. So I'm just trying to say, Tshepiso, all of the matters that we've been talking about over a long period of time, it's not as though they've not been attended to, but it is the manner in which people deal with those issues. It is, for instance, such as victim intimidation, silencing a victim, that there's no transparency in the case. So at the end,
I'm glad you mentioned victim intimidation, Minister, because you yourself have lamented the fact that there have been senior female members of the military who've tried to pressure victims to either withdraw their statements or silence them from reporting such incidents. Part of the report does talk about the fact that it should be, or a policy should be developed that should make it easier to dismiss officers accused of that. You were just talking now about how the rape cases reported in areas of deployment, mostly in the Democratic Republic of Congo, for instance, that the penalties have been so small or weak. So how are you going to work towards this, making it easier where somebody has been repeatedly accused of such sexual misconduct or allegations thereof?
Well, Tshepiso, you'll be happy to hear that during the course of this investigation by the Ministerial Task Team, already we have several officers who have been taken out of the system, who have been fired as a result of this investigation. So it's not like as the investigation was going on, nothing was being done. We were setting up parallel processes of dealing with those issues. A number of those cases, by the way, are currently under review. And by the way, on matters of rape, because here we're talking about sexual harassment, sexual abuse, as different from rape. In the instance where there is a clear rape case, that rape case is not dealt with by the military. It should be dealt with clearly by
Minister,
the national prosecutions.
Is it just service missions in the Democratic Republic of Congo, or have others in other countries, regions been brought to the fore? And also, just finally talk to me about sensitivity around LGBTQI issues, education.
Well, let me, the area we are deployed to right now is the Democratic Republic of Congo. But for me, it was not just about that. It was also about investigating cases internally here in our bases, where young women, young girls who are coming into the system find themselves being victimized by their own instructors, by their own seniors. And we had to say, let's investigate all of those matters. Has there been any consequences where such cases have been reported? And so it wasn't an investigation which was only centered on what happens in deployment areas, but it was also an investigation where we look at ourselves in the mirror and say, we may have we've failed women in the following areas, including in our internal bases here.
All right, Minister, thank you so much. But we have run out of time. Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, Minister of Defence and Military Veterans.